A smiling girl, Agnes's servant Daisy Rodion, returned from vacation. She immediately said that she missed the princess very much and hoped that she missed her too. But Daisy also noticed that Princess Agnes was making something and became interested in it. Agnes was making a camera. Since this world is dominated by steampunk, all the basic things are there, but still, compared to the previous life, there is a lot missing here. Agnes wasn't able to take any photos on her last mission because she was busy cleaning, but only one camera can capture all the beauty of Kylo. And she can't wait for their next meeting. But it turned out that Kylo Grey had left somewhere, which very upset the girl. Since there were no tasks left, where could the commander of the Black Knights go? That is the question. Dressed in a ceremonial uniform, Kylo looked gloomily at the house where he had lived for a long time. Unpleasant memories from his difficult childhood immediately came to mind. Her mother's words about how he shouldn't have been born, that if it weren't for him, her life would be different. And he's trash. His half-brothers mocked him, thinking that the son of a maid should be grateful that he was allowed to live here. The man consoled his wife, assuring that the maid was lying and this boy could not be his son. And now the entire Grey family is gathered at the table. The younger brother and sister, two older brothers, and their mother all looked at Kylo with disdain. And only the head of the family, putting on a mask of friendliness on his face, greeted his son. "You called, father?" Kylo Grey asked detachedly, not having the slightest bit of tender feelings for this family. Viscount Austin Grey and Viscountess Julia Grey invited the man to sit down as etiquette dictates. Kylo could barely contain the feeling of disgust that was breaking through. Sitting down at the table, he routinely asked, without looking at anyone, how they were doing. 27 years ago, his mother was the most beautiful girl in the village, dreamed of becoming the mistress of an aristocrat, and moved from the village to the capital. As she wished, she attracted the attention of the nobleman and gave birth to his child. But this was not luck, but misfortune, due to the fact that the child had black hair, not like Viscount Grey's, and he insisted that this was not his son. Due to the Viscount's betrayal and the Viscountess's disgust, she became more and more nervous. And the easiest target on which she could take out her anger, and which became an extra burden for her, was Kylo, a small, naive child who still looked at his mother with love. By the time he got used to violence from his own mother, the Viscountess, and his half-brothers, their lives had changed dramatically again. Kylo's mother was caught preparing an attempt on the Viscountess's life. She was dragged into the backyard and severely beaten as punishment for her crime. That day she stopped breathing, and that same day little Kylo left the Grey family. He was willing to do anything to survive. He was once stabbed during a pickpocket, and once he was almost beaten to death for stealing a loaf of bread. Even when the boy managed to find a job, he was often driven away without any money. One day during his travels, a mercenary took pity on him and took him with him. Taking the hand first extended to him, Kylo Grey decided to become a mercenary. He took on any job that brought money and stubbornly survived like an insect. As a mercenary, he gained fame, and as soon as he was able to join the Order of the Black Knights, Viscount Grey contacted him. This was a clear pretense for the sake of creating ties with the imperial family through him. But since he has the blood of an aristocrat, even though he is an illegitimate son, he will definitely help him succeed. Kylo is tired of this lousy life, so he will take a knee as many times as necessary. But he is looking forward to the moment when power falls into his hands. After all, then Kylo Grey will certainly take revenge on everyone for what they did to his life. "How are you doing? I heard that the princess has come under your command," asked the Viscount. And he asked if Kylo bowed to her for the good of the family, to which he answered in the affirmative. Then the Viscount said that he would soon send his brothers to the Order so that they could greet the princess. "Benjamin, Bradley, get ready to meet the princess," the Viscount added, and Kylo was literally taken aback by such news. The eldest son, Benjamin Grey, also did not expect to hear such news from his father. Second son, Bradley Grey, asked in surprise whether he would really be able to meet the princess in person. "I can't understand why the brothers need to see the princess," Kylo asked after a short silence, to which the Viscount angrily replied that he didn't need to understand, he just needed to do as he said. He is an illegitimate son and wants to turn a blind eye to the fact that his father was favorable enough that he can bear the name of their family. The Viscount's fists clenched furiously, but Kylo understood that it was not time yet, and he needed to be patient, so he answered in the negative. And only the middle son was very pleased with his father's proposal. The younger sister also wanted to meet the princess and told her mother about this. to which the Viscountess ordered Molly to sit quietly. But the girl was not going to obey, and demanded that she also go to at least a tea party, offending her mother with her words. The Viscount, having heard about the tea party, turned to his wife, noting that it had already been several days since the start of the social season, and no one had invited her. Viscountess Grey stood frozen with a fork in her hands, feverishly thinking about how to answer her husband. The Viscount added that he had heard that Mrs. Ross was preparing to attend the Marchioness Melville's party with them, and ordered his wife to do everything right in any case, because he did not want to try in this family alone. Then the Viscount returned to his illegitimate son. They say the princess is returning to secular society, and does Kylo really want his sons to miss the opportunity to become the Emperor's sons-in-law? From such thoughts, Kylo literally froze in place, plunging deeper and deeper into his thoughts. The beautiful face of the princess surfaced in his memory, as she calls him Commander, smiling dazzlingly at him. His eyes widened in horror when he realized that such a beautiful girl could become the wife of one of the Greys. "What did you just say?" Kylo asked in a fallen voice, and the Viscount looked at his son in surprise. "What's the matter, Kylo?" the man asked in bewilderment, as he suddenly jumped up from his seat. Confused, Kylo replied that he had not heard of Her Highness returning to society. But the Viscount confirmed that this is indeed the case, and everyone is talking about it. Princess Agnes has already attended social events twice. Meanwhile, daily life was in full swing in the Imperial Palace. The maids admired the appearance of their mistress. She looked incredibly sweet. Agnes's reputation in the capital has recently improved, so it's time to try her best at social events. She is going to a charity party organized by the Marquise Melville. Agnes tries to choose aristocratic events mainly aimed at charity, because it is an opportunity to show herself as a role model, which is what aristocrats like. So she prepared such a cute outfit, as if Agnes was a sweet lady going out for the first time. But first, she can't think of anything else to donate to charity other than jewelry, but they probably won't do much to get rid of the image of a luxurious princess. And then the girl came up with one wonderful idea that could be implemented. Having picked herself up, she immediately hurried out of the room before the maids asked questions. Replying that she was going to convey one message and would return soon, the girl hurried to visit her brother. At the Grey family estate, Kylo thoughtfully picked at his food with a fork. This thoughtfulness of his continued for quite a long time, which could not help but attract the attention of those around him. "No appetite, Kylo?" the Viscount asked, and the man immediately answered in the negative. But having understood everything in his own way, the Viscount asked his wife to tell the chef to cook Kylo's favorite food next time. The wounded woman did not contradict her husband, but mentally she mocked her husband's illegitimate son in every possible way. "How dare this puppy behave like that at the table, you ungrateful trash?" But Kylo didn't even pay attention to the glances directed at him. The man thought only about why he reacted this way to his father's thoughts about Agnes's marriage to one of the Greys. To be honest, he always had to endure humiliation. He even remembered the princess's contemptuous look addressed to the saint when she dared to object to her. But at that moment, Princess Agnes came to the defense of him, Kylo. At that moment, some part of his soul was happy, although he understood that he should not do this. "I was so happy at that moment that I could even believe that she was an angel. But how can someone like him compare with his half-brothers? It's scary to even imagine." There was another significant obstacle between them. In addition, Raymond Spencer, perfect in everything, he can definitely become a part of this noble and beautiful picture, but how can someone like him stand next to it? In the end, Kylo decided that he just felt sorry for the princess, who was targeted by people like the Grey family. And he gets angry at those who chat without understanding what's what, that's all. Princess Agnes arrived at the palace of the Crown Prince of the Empire. She looked at her brother's library with interest, noting that all the books were new, and obviously he put them here just to appear smarter. Carried away by her books, Agnes did not notice how someone else entered the room. "What are you doing in the room without its owner, Agnes?" asked Demian. Not even intending to remain silent, the girl put the book in its place and retorted that he had also come to her without permission before. So why was he reacting like that now? Demian replied that he could not help but be angry because she was rummaging around in the office where he was engaged in government affairs. Well, anyway, Agnes said that she needed his advice. She was going to go to the Marchioness Melville's charity party, but she had nothing to donate. The jewelry she has is not suitable for this at all. It is obvious that donating jewelry is boring. Damien was surprised to think that the one who, since childhood, cries with joy when you give her jewelry, calls them boring. This event will bring together ladies with deep knowledge of art. So I came to you for advice. You're my older brother. Maybe you have something suitable? Agnes asked, as sweetly as possible, angering her brother a little with her pretense. But Damien turned to the closet and told the girl to wait a little. After some time, he took out a shabby-looking book from the top shelf. It was a collection of poems written by the poet Grandel 100 years ago. Connoisseurs of culture cannot help but dream of such a book copy. In addition, the Marchioness Melville is a lady with a high reputation after all. With age, the princess begins to make the right choices. But just as the princess thought, why would her brother give her such a valuable thing? The prince added that Raymond Spencer would also be happy. And since she was here, he offered to drink tea, just as a good guest would soon come to him. Agnes had already begun to guess who this guest was and hurried to leave, but did not have time, as it was announced that Sir Spencer had arrived. Hastily saying that she was very busy preparing for the party and she needed to go urgently, the girl headed to the door. Noticing her unusual behavior, Damien asked if she was embarrassed. At that moment, Raymond Spencer entered the room, and he and Agnes came face to face in the doorway. For a while, the young people simply looked into each other's eyes, not expecting such a sudden meeting. But, not wanting to communicate with him, Agnes simply walked past the White Knight. Damien, who watched the entire scene, noticed that it seemed that she was really very offended by him. Raymond Spencer didn't say a word, lost in thought. So much so that the Crown Prince had to call out to him twice. "Raymond Spencer, I ask you as my friend, do you really hate my sister that much?" Damien asked. The man froze in place. Usually he would have answered without hesitation, "Yes, I hate it." But why can't he say it this time? It doesn't match what he feels. Why did she seem different to him now? Her gaze, full of unexpressed pain, reminded him very much. With the same look his mother looked only after his father all his life. And little Raymond always noticed this inexpressible sadness of his mother. These views seemed similar to him. He swore that he would not live like his father. However, he had an uneasy feeling that he would break this promise to himself. The Marquis of Melville had 2 sons. One of them is the heir, a member of the Order of the White Knights, rumored to be the libertine Sirius Melville. The second is an out-of-wedlock member of the Order of the Black Knights, who is currently on assignment with Rubius Melville. Since the Marquis of Melville registered his illegitimate son Rubius as the adopted child of his younger brother, relations between the spouses deteriorated. After the Marchioness Melville sent her husband to their domain, she took power over the family in the capital into her own hands. "Thank you for the invitation, Marquise." Princess Agnes Saint sat down elegantly. "It's an honor for me that you came to such an unsightly place." The sophisticated Marquise answered politely. All the guests present thought that the princess came alone, even without a maid, and also formally greeted her. It seemed that she had really matured. To start small talk, Agnes noted that the Marquise's garden was even more beautiful than they said. Lately, almost everyone reacts this way to her presence, and it will take a little more effort to make them forget about the princess's previous behavior. In particular, it is obvious that they are trying to test her, especially in front of the Marchioness Melville. The Marchioness was worried whether she would be interested in a place where only older women gathered. By the way, today the ribbons in the princess's hair are simply lovely. "You remind me of my daughter on the day of her debut in secular society," one of the ladies remarked. Until now, Agnes has played the role of an adult and graceful princess, but since there are many middle-aged women here, we need to change tactics to the opposite. And she replied that, based on what she heard from the maids, mothers personally weave yellow ribbons into the hairstyles of young ladies who made their debut in secular society. And she also really wanted to have this hairstyle someday. Besides, when talking to him, it's like she's talking to her mother, and she's so calm and happy. And judging by the reaction of the ladies present, the strategy of the charming youngest daughter worked with a bang. Everything is going according to plan, Agnes thought, listening to the ladies unanimously say that the previous empress would definitely be happy that she had such 2 treasures. As she thought, it was best to answer the ladies' questions properly and smile at them. But at that moment, 3 more ladies approached those present. "Who is this?" The ladies were surprised. Someone said that Mrs. Ross was on the left, and next to her, it seemed, was Viscountess Grey. If this is Mrs. Grey, Agnes thought, then she is Kylo's stepmother. Mrs. Ross thanked the Marchioness for the invitation and apologized for being late due to the incident with the carriage. The Marquise accepted the apology but asked who came with her. Mrs. Ross introduced the woman as her best friend, Viscountess Grey, who immediately replied that she was honored to meet the Marchioness. The next moment, Viscountess Grey walked straight up to Princess Agnes and said that she was honored to meet her. The look Agnes gave to the woman who dared to distract her spoke for itself. The novella doesn't give any details about Grey's family, but she does know that they abused Kylo cruelly. The Viscountess continued to say that the princess was a member of the Order of Knights, commanded by Kylo Grey, and Agnes, seething, thought how dare she utter Kylo's name with her vile mouth. As if not noticing the princess's changed mood, Lady Grey continued that her sons would soon meet her through Kylo, Benjamin, and Bradley. Very pleasant young people. Not wanting to hear stories about her sons, Agnes asked what she would say about Kylo Grey. Frightened that the princess had interrupted her, the Marquise fell silent in shock. "Why are you suddenly asking about him?" she asked, plucking up courage. To which the princess replied that she had previously had a lot of misconceptions about Sir Grey, and she was sorry that she had made many mistakes out of ignorance. Despite this, Sir Grey treated her with an open mind. On the contrary, she saw how he always approached responsibly to her position as commander and learned a lot from him. "So she wonders what his family can tell about him?" Agnes asked, smiling. Out of the corner of her ear, the Viscountess heard the guests talking in surprise about how the princess had matured thanks to Sir Grey. But why she was so interested in him, this should not happen. Stuttering, Viscountess Grey apologized and said that Kylo was born as a result of her husband's betrayal. Getting more and more excited, she said that he had abused her children since childhood and even resorted to theft. And to reinforce her words, a completely wild thought came to the woman. "The Marquise understands me," she shouted, turning towards the hostess of the tea party. The Marchioness Melville was also forced to accept a child born out of wedlock into the family, so the Viscountess understands how she feels and how sad she is. "I can't stand this anymore." The angry Marquise jumped up from the table. She demanded that the Viscountess leave her evening immediately. At this point, Lady Grey was seriously frightened, because with her careless words, she had angered the hostess of the evening. And although the Viscountess tried to beg forgiveness from the Marquise, she was adamant and ordered the butler to drive these three away immediately. The party ended in the worst possible way, thought the upset Marquise, sitting at the table. This woman showed up uninvited and revealed her most shameful secret to everyone. How her old enemies will laugh when they hear about this. At that moment, the butler knocked on the door and entered, carrying a letter on a tray, even though the lady asked to be left alone. The servant apologized and said that Her Highness the Princess asked that this be given to her along with the yellow rose. The rose was from the same yellow ribbon from today's princess hairstyle. A yellow rose means unfailing love, and Agnes wrote that today she was very impressed with the Marquise's garden and how hard she works. And since the debut of young ladies, there is a custom of giving your mother, who has brought you up to this day, ornaments from her hair along with the yellow rose. And the princess decided to send a gift to the Marchioness for her hard work and thank her for inviting her to her party. Reading the letter, the Marquise thought that it was not enough that her husband had cheated on her, and she was completely devastated when she heard that the child from this betrayal would become her nephew. However, she could not give up the mansion, reputation, and beloved son she had created. Despite the fact that it was hard for her to die, she could not show it. There was no one who would console her who never showed her feelings. And for her, this letter from Princess Agnes became the first consolation. The luxurious carriage moved away from the estate of the Marquise Melville, taking the guest home. Agnes sat by the window and thoughtfully reflected on what had happened. Even if you think about it, it all seems ridiculous. How that woman dared to touch her Kylo. She also claims that he is abusing her children. What shamelessness. However, there are definitely people who believe in this. After the incident, Agnes warned those present that if anyone mentions what happened, they will be severely punished. Well, in any case, it seems that she has secured the support of an influential person in social circles, the Marchioness of Melville, and there is no longer any reason to worry about her reputation. "Princess," she was already met at home by maids eager to learn new gossip. The princess asked what happened, but the girls replied that they had come to meet her, and immediately asked how the party went. Agnes was sure that they had come for a different purpose. But then one of the maids told her the news that His Highness the Crown Prince had chosen Dame Diana Rennox as his partner. This news greatly surprised the princess because she did not understand what was being said. The girls explained that they meant a festive ball at a festival in honor of the founding of the empire, and they asked who the princess would go with, which was the main topic of rumors for the near future.